Hi everyone, so awesome to have you with me today and so excited to be able to empower business owners to really make a big difference in these crazy times and into the future. So here we go.
SEO for business owners, we're going to be looking at local businesses and online stores. And what we're going to be going through is how to rank your website in 1 to 12 months so that you can create a thriving long-term business. And that's even if you know nothing about SEO right now.
Hi, my name is Georgie Hope. I have like 10 years SEO experience. I have my own SEO agency. We work mostly with really local businesses and online stores. I help Google to find my clients' websites. Now, in these crazy times, only 6%, luckily for my business owners, have had to put a pause on their SEO because they were in industries where they were shut down. But the majority of my clients, I've just been incredibly lucky. I just happen to be in industries that have been allowed to stay open. But the difference that I've actually seen in their traffic on their websites is anything from like a decrease in 67% to like an increase in 100% of their traffic over these times. So there's a massive range of things that are happening to business owners right now. And I understand that there's business owners that are at home now and that aren't able to work. And that's the reason why I think this is an opportune time for business owners to actually learn some SEO, because usually you're too busy. Usually you're out there doing your own thing, doing your business. You don't have time for this. But right now, it could make a massive difference if you can actually implement SEO now and prepare for the future when things change around again. You might ask, why am I going to do this training for free? You know, why would I do that? What's in it for me? Well, basically during the GFC in 2009, I had a horrendous time, like both emotionally, financially for a couple of years. It was absolutely awful. And if it hadn't been for my parents loaning me a lot of money, then I would have been bankrupt. And it was a very humbling experience. And it made me realize just how easy it is to be okay and then to not be okay. And I look at, people now who are homeless, and I think I could have been homeless, if it hadn't been for my family. And I think about people that don't have families to support them in these times. And so for me, it's about paying it forward, because I had people who helped me. And now, all these many years later, I'm in a position where I can actually pay it forward. When I went through all of that, I hated asking for help. And I hated the fact that people were helping me and giving me help. So I say to you right now, if you are financially struggling, just take all the help that you can get. Take all the free help that's been given to you. And at some point in the future, maybe it's 10 years like it has been for me, but at some point in the future, know that you can pay that forward when you're in an okay position yourself. If you're somebody who's doing okay financially right now, but you're like, free training, that'd be kind of cool, then that's fine as well. Go ahead. All I ask and all I can say is that this training, based on all the other kinds of trainings that I've done before and what I'm actually giving you, is probably worth somewhere between $1,000 to $5,000. So if you are in a financial position where you can give some money, then give it to a charity or give it to somebody else who really needs it right now. Like, pay it forward right now. Pay it forward to somebody else. Whatever you think that this training is worth, however much value you feel that I give you over these next 8 weeks, then at some point, give that money and pay it to somebody else. So this training is going to be over 8 weeks. There's going to be 8 weeks of pre-recorded videos like this, like what I'm doing right now for you. And then there's going to be a Q&A session each week as well, which will be a live session that you can come and join. You can ask questions, but you can also ask questions in the YouTube video comment section. Like, put questions in there if you've got them. If there's a lot of people asking the same questions, then I'll just do another video that explains whatever those questions are. So what I highly recommend is that you actually click the link somewhere around this video, and then you'll get emailed the written instructions, the checklist, also notifications for when the next video comes out, and notifications for the Q&A session. So definitely click that link, put in your email so that you get all that information. So let's get started.
Okay, cool. So SEO for business owners, we're going to be looking at local businesses and online stores. And what we're going to be going through is how to rank your website in 1 to 12 months so that you can create a thriving long-term business. And that's even if you know nothing about SEO right now. And I know 1 to 12 months, you're like, what? Like, that's a huge range. And that's because that's just the reality of it. You know, you can have a website that has hardly any competitors and it might rank in a month. You can have a website that is in an industry where there's loads of other competitors and it can take 12 months, sometimes even more if it's a like extremely competitive industry. But it also depends on how much time you put into it as well. If you spent 2 hours a week on doing your own SEO, that would be the equivalent of investing about $1,000 a month with an SEO company. So just keep that in mind. In this first week, I'm going to ask you to try and do at least an hour a day, more if you can. But long term, just think about that and how much that you're actually investing in your website by doing this yourself. So what is SEO? SEO stands for Search Engine Optimization. Now, in Australia, it's an S. In America, it's a Z. Maybe we'll change it to a Z since I imagine that there's going to be a whole lot of people watching from America. Or maybe I'll just keep it in as an S. I don't know. We'll see. Anyway, so search engine optimization helps Google understand your website. Now, this understanding means that Google can then show it to relevant people. So if Google doesn't actually know what your website's about, then it's just not going to show it to anyone. It's just going to be hanging about. Google needs to know so it can show people. So there's 2 things that are really critical. There's what we call the on-site SEO. And so that looks at, well, with that, what we're doing is changing the structure, the content, the keywords, the metadata. And a lot of this on-site SEO is one-off stuff. It's usually the stuff that I do in the first couple of months. And then when there's new services or products, I mean, if you're an online store, then it's going to be something that you're doing, adding new products continuously, or if you've got a blog on your site, then you're going to be adding more content. But the majority of this is done in the first couple of months, and we're going to go through that in some later chapters because this is the bit that's a bit more technical and is going to be harder for me to teach you. And what we're going to start with is some of the off-site SEO, which is really about getting votes for your website. Now, votes are not reviews. It's nothing to do with the reviews. It's just getting backlinks from other websites. And this is the kind of thing that's the ongoing SEO. And so if you are working with an SEO agency and you might be like, why am I having to pay this money every month, month after month? I mean, why is SEO structured that way? It's because we need to do this in an ongoing basis, especially for competitive websites. Some websites, you actually don't need to do much of this at all. You can just do that one-off at the start. But for a lot of the businesses that I work with, the whole reason they come to me is that this bit isn't enough. And what they need is the ongoing, continuous votes to their website. So each month, a few more votes. Each month, a few more votes. So that Google can go, yep, okay, this website is real and they're continuing in business and people still like the content. Okay, so I hope that makes sense as to what SEO is, the 2 main things. And today, when we are working on it, it's really this section that we're going to be working on. But before we do that, I just want to make sure that this is actually right for you, that this is actually something that's going to benefit your business right now, to be actually spending time on doing SEO. SEO is something that requires patience. You know, that can be rare. SEO really is a long-term strategy. That's where you get the most benefit out of it. And that's what you're going to see when you see some of these examples that are coming up next. But SEO is not the answer for you if you want more clients right now, like tomorrow, to grow your business. SEO is not going to give you that. SEO is going to take at least a month, and in some cases 12 months before you're going to see a significant increase in clients. So if the range is kind of 1 to 12 months, and some businesses it might be 3 months, some businesses 4 months, some businesses 5 months. We're going to be doing the exact same things on every business, but it just takes as long as it takes. So if you're like desperate right now, I have to grow my business right now, then you need to go and do something else, not SEO. If you're struggling financially right now and you want income right now, you're like, I need this income, I need it right now. Again, that's not going to be something that you're going to get from SEO, okay? If you need either of those, then you need to look at any other way but SEO of getting people straight away. So that's going to vary hugely depending on what industry you're in. And that may be something where you need to go and talk to somebody who is an overall marketing consultant who can look at your business and kind of go, okay, if you want inquiries like tomorrow, then these are the things that you need to do in your specific business, okay? And again, the other thing with SEO is that it only works if people are searching for your products and services. If nobody's ever heard of what your product or service is, then again, SEO isn't going to work. So SEO is the answer if you have enough finances to support you right now and you have time to learn. So one of the whole reasons I'm doing this whole training session now is that usually business owners don't have time to learn SEO, but we're in crazy times. And so suddenly there's a whole stack of business owners potentially at home who do have time to learn and could implement this, and maybe in a month or 2 months or 3 months or however long it takes before their business reopens again, they can be in a much better position than what they are right now. The other thing that SEO does is gives you incredible results in like 2 to 5 years time. So if you're somebody who's like, okay, I really do want to keep this business, I love this business, I want to be in it for the future. Right now I have time to learn. I'm going to start implementing things. Depending on my business, I know that I might not get results for 1 month to 12 months. And that I'm really keen to just start improving and then hopefully start getting amazing results in a couple of years' time. So again, if you want business growth into the future, if your aim is that in the future you want to put on more staff, you want to offer more products and more services, then this is where SEO can help you. So what are the kind of results that you can expect? So if SEO is the right answer for you, like I've said, now if you're a business that has less than 10 competitors in whatever location that you're in, so if you're a local business that's in a city, if you have less than 10 competitors in your city or in your town, depending on how far people are going to travel to your business, or if you're an online store and there's less than 10 other online stores that are offering what you offer, then you could see ranking changes and increased leads in like 1 to 4 months just by implementing what we're going to go through in this 8-week course. However, if you're a business that has more than 10 competitors in your location, so in your town or in your city or in your country or whatever is your location that you're targeting, if there's more than 9 other businesses or more than 10 businesses, then it could take anywhere between 6 to 18 months before you're actually going to start getting more inquiries. You might get a few before this, but to start getting significant inquiries, it's going to take a considerable amount of time. So I want you to keep that in mind. And also keep in mind what I said before, where if you're doing 2 hours a week on your SEO and what I'm teaching you in this course, then that's going to be about the equivalent of investing $1,000 a month getting someone else to do your SEO. Now, obviously, because you're new and you're learning, it's probably going to take you longer. So in the beginning, if you spend 2 hours a week, that might be the equivalent of doing $500 a month on your SEO. And look, 2 hours a week is kind of nothing, right? So right now, I mean, potentially we, homeschooling and all of that might be going on, but potentially there's 1 or 2 hours a day that you could be spending doing SEO on your website. And so if you think of the impact that could have over time, that's huge, okay? So I'm going to show you some graphs with some results in them. I'm going to try and go through them so that they make sense. But look, if they don't, you can always ask questions about it, no problem at all, either in the Q&As or by typing it in the question box in the YouTube video. But all of the graphs I'm showing you are in the competitive industry. So these are all businesses that have more than 10 competitors, because these are the kinds of businesses that I usually work with. These businesses up here, often what the web developer does and what the business owner does themselves means that they're okay. These are the ones that I work with. I'll often work with businesses where there's like 100 or 1,000 competitors in their industry. And so they need, like, you know, the top level SEO. And what I'm actually going to be teaching you is that level of SEO if you choose to implement it. Okay, so like I said, these graphs below, it's going to be the competitive industries. Okay, so this is from a program called SEM Rush, and I can go into the program and do it in there and do example videos of that if someone wants to see it in the program itself. But at the moment I'm doing the screenshots of it because I've written stuff on the screenshots, which I think make it a bit easier to sort of see the data. But before we go into any more details on this diagram and these charts and graphs, I just want to explain the different kinds of traffic that come from Google, and for you to understand that the organic traffic is what comes from SEO. And so these graphs are showing the organic traffic from SEO. I'm going to show you the difference between ads and organic and maps listings in Google. So if you went and searched for Celebrant Sunshine Coast, and then this is what comes up. So the first thing we've got here is an ad. See, it's got like ad written there. Sometimes they trial different colors and different things there, but it has to have something to indicate to you that it's actually an ad. So this person here is paying Google AdWords, or paying a company that does Google AdWords to get their business listed up here. So only about 20% of people click on these. Then we've got the maps listing here, maps listings, and this is created through what's called Google My Business. And so we're going to go through that later on as well so that you can see how to do that. And then what you've got down here is the organic listings. So all these things here are the organic listings down to here. So there's usually 10 of those on a page. And then again, you then end up with more ads down at the bottom. So this is AdWords, this is the maps, and then this is, if someone clicks on one of these, that will be called organic traffic. And so that's what SEO actually helps. SEO helps people to rank in this section, and this is the section that they say around 80% of people click on. That would be including the maps, but around 80% of people click on the maps and these listings here. Only about 20% on the ads. Okay, so this is a business in Australia because I'm from Australia, and this data was from the 11th of April this year. And so what it's actually showing is that there's about 1.1 thousand keywords that they're getting traffic from. They're getting about 5.6 thousand visits to their website. And the traffic cost, so how much it would actually cost them to get this same traffic if they tried to do it from Google AdWords, would be nearly 12,000 Australian dollars. Okay? So this is how much that traffic is worth. Now this client started SEO here. Now they've been paying me about $750 a month, Australian dollars a month, since back here, so around 2016. And you can see in the first year they had about 9,000 visits. In fact, their traffic actually went down a bit. And this can sometimes happen because sometimes a website can be getting completely irrelevant traffic. So it can be traffic that actually isn't bringing them any clients. And what we want to be giving them is traffic that's highly relevant. It's traffic that's actually going to bring you the kinds of clients that you want. Okay? So as you can see, we still had 9,000 visits, but the traffic actually kind of went down a bit. And for them, we're looking at like 18 months before they really started to see like this significant increase in their traffic. And then again, they went down again. Now in this case, it was because they had like a theme change and their theme wasn't recording all of their traffic. But they still showed like a huge increase. That's 34,000 visits compared to 17,000 visits. Sometimes you can get results like this because you might be at number 1 in Google, but the number of people that are actually searching for your product and service changes with time. And so this kind of, once you get up to sort of like number 1, 2, and 3, we often see, variations like this, and it can be due to the number of people that are searching. But again, you can see that we've had an improvement. And I often find that that's another thing that happens, is that we kind of get up here, we kind of almost reach a plateau, and then we have a surge again. And so you'll probably see that in some of these other graphs that I'm going to show you. But what I want to do now is just compare this to how much they invested with me for SEO compared to how much they would have had to invest to get this same traffic from Google Ads. Okay, so I'm going to show you this table. So this is the years. So this is year 1 of SEO, year 2, year 3, year 4. And so this is the organic traffic that they're getting from the website. So it's not paid. It's the organic traffic that they're getting from Google. And this is how much they've been paying for SEO. Now this is just a typical kind of client that I see. So a typical client is paying about $1,000 a month, so $12,000 a year. Now over here is how much it would have cost them to get this traffic from ads, so Google Ads. So what I often find is in the first year of SEO, they've spent $12,000 with me and they've got 2,000 visits from Google. Had they spent $6,000 on Google Ads, they could have got these 2,000 visits. So think about that for a minute. It actually cost them more in the first year of SEO to get their traffic than had they had ads. So you might be like, well, why would anyone want to do that? Why not just get ads? And that's what happens in a lot of cases. People go, I'm not getting the results from SEO, it's not really working, and so therefore, I might as well just do ads. And look, there's no problem with doing ads. I don't do ads for anybody, but I have a lot of clients that have ads as well as their SEO traffic. And certainly it's been shown that about 20% of people click on ads compared to 80% of people clicking on the organic listings. So that's something to keep in mind. So then what happens is in the second year, we're getting about 4,000 visits and it's cost 12 grand for both of them. So again, in the second year, you're still probably ahead by using ads. But then we come to the third year. And in the third year, the amount of traffic that we get from SEO, and this is the cost it would have been to get that traffic from ads. So suddenly now in the third year, it's become way more cost effective to use SEO, to be spending that money on SEO than to be spending it on ads. And some people will do half and half. That's probably a good strategy. Spend half on SEO, spend half on ads. Until sometimes they get to the point where they're like, it's not even worth it with the ads. But in any case, then you've got the fourth year. They're spending $48,000 over the year on ads compared to $12,000 over the year on SEO to get this same traffic by then. So if we go back to this client up here, this was their cost per month. That's 12 grand per month. So 12 times they would have had to spend 144,000 in year 4 for them to get this same traffic. Now they're in an industry where they can get a lot of traffic. Not everyone can get that much traffic, even if you're at number 1 or number 2 for your keywords. But this is the general kind of thing that happens. So this is what I'm showing you. Like, if you do this on your website, the long-term benefits are massive. And the other thing is that as soon as you stop your ads, so as soon as, if this client was getting all of this traffic from ads and they stop their ads, they get 0 traffic. If you've got this traffic from SEO, if you stopped doing SEO, the amount of time it would take for your traffic to go back to 0 could be a few months, but is most likely to be years before it would go back to 0. So overall, SEO, over the long term, SEO is incredibly powerful and is incredibly cost effective compared to doing ads. In the short term, it's not at all. So if you actually have a business and you're like, I really think I want to sell it in the next year or 2, then yeah, look, if you want to invest more in SEO so that you can say, yeah, look, this is where I'm ranking, sure. But if you wanted to build the business by getting loads more leads potentially in the next year or 2 in order to be able to sell it, then you may well be better off using ads. So I want you to sort of think about that as well, and think about, where are you at? You know, are you looking to grow this business long term, or are you looking to get out of it short term? What do you want to actually achieve? Because ads and SEO, even though we're going after the exact same people, the investment that you make in it can produce very different outcomes in the short term and in the long term. Okay, so here's another client that I want to show you. So they started SEO back in 2015, September 2015. And you can see they've kind of had this, exponential increase. Then they kind of reach this point again where they, or it kind of plateaus a bit. Sometimes it goes down if they're in an industry where there's actually less people searching them than there was then. And then we tend to have this bump again, which then kind of goes along like this for a bit. And that's the kind of pattern we're looking at. So again, look, this client's, their traffic is worth $12,000. That's how much they'd have to spend to get this traffic from AdWords. And this client has been spending $500 a month with me since September 2015. This is the power of just doing more each month, a little bit each month, a little bit each month, a little bit each month. Hugely powerful over time. So they're spending $6,000 they spent with me in 2020, and to get the same traffic from AdWords again is about $144,000. Like, crazy, right? That's crazy. Another one. Now they're in an industry where, even though they're at number 1, they can't get as much traffic. These other businesses, there's just a lot more traffic that they can get. There's a lot more people searching. It's probably the best way to say it. There's a lot more people searching. And so here in this one, again, they started in April 2016. Took a little while for them to get off the ground. And then, they started to have this significant kind of increase in traffic. Sometimes when they get up here, number 1 and 2 for like the majority of their keywords, and then it can kind of become seasonal after that. So depending on what sort of months of the year are seasonal, you'll start seeing traffic happening like that. So that's completely normal as well. So again, they're not they just don't have as many people searching for them. So their traffic value is about $5,000 up here, but that's still $60,000 it would be costing them in a year to get this traffic. This kind of thing, often when you add like new products and services to a client's website, so they're kind of they're going along, it plateaus for a bit, and then you add some more stuff, whoop, up we go again. Anyway, the moral of the story is that most people give up on SEO too soon. The other thing that can happen is that you might have good SEO, and then you might get a website redevelopment that like strips all the SEO out of your site, and then you might end up going back to square one. Part of the reason I even have all this written information is that I was actually writing an ebook for web developers, so that for brand new websites and for a website redevelopment. That was my original plan. But of course, right now they're super busy with all their e-commerce stores and everyone wanting to go online. And really, I'm like, right now it's the business owners that actually need this the most, which is why I've creating this now. But certainly getting a website redevelopment can be a huge issue. And one of the things that I have this thing that I do with all my clients, it's called website shielding. So whenever they have a redevelopment, I go in and do this whole process that can take anywhere from 10 to 30 hours just to make sure that that all the SEO is kept on their website. But now that you're going to learn what all that SEO is, you're going to be in a much better position if your website does get redeveloped by somebody to be able to go, these are all the things that I had on my site before that were helping SEO, and you've taken them all off. So please put them back into the new site. So yeah, but anyway, most people give up on SEO too soon. It doesn't work, this, that, whatever. Whereas if you just keep doing it every month, and look, by the time that you get back into it, and you might not want to do it every month, but you can use this to train your staff, and you can get them to do the ongoing stuff each month. The ongoing stuff that you need to do is, as far as getting votes for your website, is something that you can teach to pretty much anyone. I mean, I've been teaching that. I've taught that to 15-year-olds when I've had students come in for training. So that side of it we can teach to anybody. The stuff that's to do with adding new products and services and the actual on-site stuff, that might be something that you continue to do into the future, but you might give the off-site stuff to somebody else in your business to continue with. Okay, so in this video today, this is what we're going to run through. So part 1, which is really video 1, so this is the whole training today. Firstly, we're going to look at assessing your business and domain name and see how helpful it is or not helpful for SEO. We're going to check to make sure that your website is actually indexed in Google, because if it's not indexed, then it doesn't matter what we do in SEO, it's not going to help. Then we're going to check if you have Google Analytics, and I'll show you how to set that up if that's something that you don't have. And we're going to look at some basic keyword research to start doing some tracking. So these two things are going to be vital, because if you don't do these, then we can't actually track the results. We don't actually know what's happening. We need to be able to have a baseline, so that then once you actually start implementing all these things, that you can see if it's actually working or if it's doing anything. So that's why it's going to be really important to do these two things even before you do this step. Now this step 5 is the step that's actually going to make a difference. This is the one that's actually going to make a difference to your rankings in Google. But firstly, we need to do all of these before we can do this step. Now, if there's anything that I talk about today that you don't understand, that I haven't given enough detail on, where you actually want a more specific detailed video on something, then just ask for that in the YouTube comments. Or you can also come to the free Q&As over the next 8 weeks to ask more questions. If I'm getting, questions about the same thing over and over again, then I know that that's something that I haven't explained well enough. And then what I'll be able to do is to go back into this document. I'll put links in there to new videos as well. I'll also put links to any new videos that I'm creating in the description of this video, so that if there's more instructions on a specific area, and then I'll also put it like in the checklist as well. So if there's more instructions on a specific area, then you should be able to find those instructions. So it's just something to think about with regards to your domain name, because I know some people haven't even set up their websites just yet. So I want you to be able to think about these things before you actually buy the domain name. If you do already have your domain name, then we're going to look at some things that we can do to try and help. So the first thing is Does your business name and your domain name help SEO? Is it actually helping Google to understand what your website is about or not? We just really want to make things easy for Google. So if you're lucky, then you'll have a good business and domain name, or if you otherwise, I mean, you might have a whole stack of printed materials and you might be like, look, I don't want to change it, and that's fine. I'm going to show you what we can do then to help you if your domain name or business name isn't something that is currently helping your SEO. Okay, so what kind of domain name helps SEO? It's a very good question. Firstly, to answer that, I might talk about what doesn't help local SEO or for an online store SEO. And the thing to remember is that the SEO that we do for a local store or a local service business or an online store can be very different to what is being done for a big brand name, all right? So if you just have like a brand name as your domain name, then it can be very difficult for Google to know what that's about. And so we're going to go into that in a minute. Also, if you have a keyword that is too broad in the domain name or a keyword that is too specific, which might limit your future expansion, you might have your name in the domain name, which might hinder being able to sell it later on. So that's not really an SEO thing, but that I mean, it could help you right now if people are searching a lot for your name. But definitely could make it difficult to sell later on. So these are things to consider. And if you're using a .com, if the business is outside the US. So .com is a usual thing for the US. And so if you want to target anyone in the US, then that would be fine. So I'm going to go into those into more detail now. So if you just have a brand name, for instance. So just say you heard that the business name was Pinkies. And their website is pinkies.com. So what do you think it is that they do? Like what do they do? Pinkies.com. No idea, right? That doesn't mean anything. Doesn't mean anything to Google either. Now, this can be good if you're like a big brand like Virgin or Apple or something like that, and you have millions of dollars to spend on marketing and promoting your business and your brand. But that's not what most local businesses and local and online stores have. You know, you don't have millions of dollars to do that kind of brand marketing. And what you're relying on in many cases is social media or is people coming from Google and searching for you. Now, if people are majority coming from social media, then maybe it's not so bad. But if the majority of your people are coming to your website from Google searches. So if you think about all the businesses, that would traditionally have been in the yellow pages, those are often the businesses that are now like 90% reliant on SEO to actually get traffic to their website. So if you have a business that would have been traditionally in the old sort of yellow pages, a service business, then a brand name isn't going to be helpful unless you're going to do some huge social media campaigns or marketing campaigns or whatever for your brand name. And maybe you're a local business and you want to expand and franchise over your whole country, and that's fine. But for the majority of local businesses, we want to help Google by putting some kind of words in the domain name that is actually going to help. So what could you do instead? So if your business name was Pinkies, what if it was Pinkies Childcare or Pinkies Electrical Miami or Pinkies Honey? I mean, immediately you know what they do. And therefore, Google knows what they do. And what are we trying to do? We're trying to help Google to understand what your site is about so Google can show it to people that it's relevant to. So the second thing is that you might have a keyword in the domain name that's kind of too broad, that isn't really helping you. So for example, the word health is very broad. So if you're a service and you only provide massage services, that's all you do, and you call yourself Health Connect, that doesn't help Google or the general public or anyone to know that actually what you do is massages. It's the same thing like you might have an online store and you might sell natural makeup. and you might call yourself Health Connect. And again, Google and the public have no idea that you sell natural makeup. So a better business name might be Massage Connect or Makeup Connect. I mean, that might not necessarily help you either. They might think it's people who are trying to make up an old relationship or something. So yeah, so you just want to think about, what it is that that you are mostly selling, and does your business name and your domain name portray that to anybody? Another one is that you might have a keyword that's too specific. So maybe you do Pinky's Electrical Miami, and then you want to actually expand to cover all kinds of other cities that are in Florida. And then your domain name restricts you. So in that case, Pinky's Electrical would be better, and then we would find other ways to get all the various cities and locations that we'll go into later on in the training in a few weeks of how we would then manage that. Or if the business provides one-of-a-kind service like massage, call yourself Massage Miami, but then expands to cover all kinds of other health services, then again, it's not necessarily helpful. Whereas you could be called Health Clinic Miami. So then it's okay to have health in there because you've got Health Clinic, which is a much more specific keyword than just health. I talked about having the owner's name in the domain name. Again, it can obviously make it harder to sell later on, but you've got to think about, what is your purpose? What are you trying to achieve? You might have something that's quite a generic name like Brown Electrical, or like my name, last name Hope. I mean, it's kind of generic, right? But if you called yourself John Anderson Electrical and your name is like John Anderson, then that might help you. If a lot of people know you and they're searching John Anderson, could make it more difficult to sell. So the fifth thing is if you're using like the wrong country code. So if you're using like a domain ending in .com or .co, that's ideal if you're in the United States, or if you sell products to like the whole world, then those kind of extensions as I call them, are fine. But if you're actually in another country and you're providing like a local service in that country, then you want to use whatever the extension is in your country. So I've just put a list here of some different countries with their extensions. Just say you are that electrical business in Miami, and you're going to use .com because you're in the US. But if you were in Australia and you had an electrical business in Brisbane, then you want to use .com.au because that's going to help you to rank for any Australian kind of keywords, because you're basically helping Google know that you're in Australia, you're targeting Australia. Sometimes it can make a difference with your hosting as well, but you usually just want to get a hosting company that's as close as possible in order to get the fastest speed. But certainly having the right country code for whatever you're trying to target. Now, if you're an online store and you're selling products just in Australia or just in Canada, for instance, then you might use .ca. But if you're an online store and you're going to be selling to the whole world, then that's going to be fine to use a .com or .co. Okay, so what does actually help SEO? Okay, so what does help SEO? So firstly, I want you to think about the main service or product that makes you money, the main location you provide the service or product. If you have other products and or services that you provide, other locations you provide the service, do you plan to expand your services and locations in the future? What country are you in? Do you plan to franchise or have some kind of worldwide brand? And just ask yourself these questions, and then look at your domain name and your business name and think to yourself, is this going to help Google and my clients to know what I mainly do and what I want clients for? So you might want to pause the video and think about that for a minute. Okay, so now I'm going to show you what I do for some businesses as a way to get around it. Because if you do decide you want to change your business name, then I'm going to talk about that after this, because there's certainly complications around doing that. This is a way that I will often use to get around it. So just say the registered business name might be Pacific, and their domain name is pacific.com. So it means nothing. That means nothing to anybody. Unless you spent millions of dollars marketing that brand so that it does mean something, it's not going to help, because this company does kitchen renovations, and you're never going to know from this business name or domain name that they do kitchen renovations. And every time you go out there and list this business as Pacific and pacific.com, it's not helping Google or other people to know what it is that you do. So what we would do is we'd keep the domain name the same, but we would call them Pacific Kitchen Renovations Brisbane, or whatever location that they're targeting or in, or just Pacific Kitchen Renovations if there's, loads of areas that they're targeting. And then on their website homepage, contact us page, and their footer, we actually call them this. In the legal copyright section down at the bottom, you can put Pacific, but just in the content of the website, you put this or this, because you just want to help Google know what it is that they actually do. And then on the social media profiles, you can put this as well. Now, if you want to, you can have a dash, so you could have Pacific and then kitchen renovations like that. But what you want to do is use this everywhere, so that every single profile that links back to your website is helping Google to understand, yes, it is kitchen renovations that they're doing. Example 2 is like an online store. So we're going to say that this one's called Pinkies, pinkies.com, but they actually sell secondhand clothing online. So we want to keep the same domain name, so we can keep it pinkies.com, but we're going to call them Pinkies Secondhand Clothing on their website homepage, contact us page, and footer. So again, if you want to, you can have Pinkies and then you can have secondhand clothing. But on any of your social media profiles and anywhere that your business is listed online, we want to have this as the name of your business. So if you're happy with your business name and your domain name, then you can pause the video here. Remember, if you haven't already, sign up for the written instructions, the checklist, and the notifications. In the next section, we're going to go through some examples of good and bad domain names. So if you're happy with yours, then you can skip to section 2, is your website indexed? And you're most welcome at any time to pay it forward by sharing the video playlist to somebody else who might also benefit from this information. I want to empower as many business owners as possible to bounce back from this crisis. Now, if you were actually planning to change your domain name or business name anyway, or you haven't actually even got a domain name yet, then I'm going to give you some examples. All of these examples are going to use .com, but of course, whatever country that you're in, you want to use whatever extension is relevant to you based on what I was talking about before. Okay, so these are some unhelpful examples. So just say you're a dog trainer and you call your website Pooch Central. It sounds pretty good, but neither of these keywords are going to be keywords that people will search for in relation to a dog trainer. People do not search Pooch, they do not search Central if they're looking for a dog trainer. Good pet, pet is too broad because it's dogs that you're trying to train, right? Dog training your town. Now that could be too narrow unless you only ever plan to do dog training in your town, but it could be good if you only ever plan to do dog training in your town. If you had something like blackdogtraining.com, then that's probably too narrow unless you only ever plan to train black dogs. So I hope that kind of gives you a little bit of an example. Then we're going to look at the good examples if you're a dog trainer. So you could have dog training and then your city. It's probably the very specific and most helpful. You could put the city at the start or the end of it. Again, you could have your town like we said before, very specific. You could put your town at the start or the end. But if you actually plan to expand to other locations and you don't want to put like a town or city in the domain name, you can still have dog training, but you might have some other word beforehand, a short word if possible, but some other word beforehand that is more of like your brand name. So well dog training or Bod's dog training, or maybe you even do your state and dog training if you wanted to franchise your dog training across the state, across that state, or if you are planning on providing online dog training services as well. So maybe during this time, you can see how if you had it just with your city, people might be turned off if they're trying to look for some kind of online dog training service. And so we can certainly have other pages on your website that would target the city areas, and instead we would have a domain name that has dog training in it but something else. Then if you plan to expand to other dog services, so you weren't just going to do dog training, but you were going to provide dog food and dog equipment and all kinds of other things, then you're going to go with a broader name, but it's still got dogs in it, you see. So it's still better than these ones up here, Pooch Central or Good Pet, that don't actually have dogs in it. If you are going to expand further and you were going to have something that was an online store, that's when you might have something like Pooch Central or Good Pet or something like that. If it's purely just going to be an online store and it's going to, I mean, this one would only be good if it's still not going to be really helpful. Dog Central would be better. But if you had something that was for all kinds of animals, that's when you might use the word pet. This is one for, say, like an online store. So just say you sell gifts online and you called yourself Blue Banana. It's not really going to help unless you are selling some kind of banana gifts. Special things, it's again too broad. No one's going to search for that. Gold online gifts, now that could be too narrow unless you only ever plan to sell things that are gold. So good examples would be, what type of gifts do you sell? So we have wedding gifts, eco gifts, they would be very specific stores that are selling gifts very specifically, or we might brand it to make it like unique wedding gifts or Lulu eco gifts, if you wanted to have some other kind of part of a brand in it. So again, it could just be your brand name with the word gifts, so Coco Gifts. It could be your country, Australian Gifts. But yeah, so you want to kind of think about what is it that you're selling, what are your plans for the future, and what do you need to think about with regards to this domain name and business name. You can change your domain name and keep the business name, but if you change your domain name, you need to get a web developer to do it properly. You could legally change your business name and keep the domain name if that's something that you want to do, or add a new business name as well as whatever business name you had before. Or you can keep the current business name and domain name that you've got and then do what I spoke about above. So you might have Blue Banana, but when you list it everywhere, you would call it Blue Banana Gifts or something like that, so that everybody knows what it is that you do. Now, I want to emphasize this because there can be problems with changing your domain name. It can create issues if it's not done properly. I'm going to be changing mine, so I'm going to be recording a separate video that will go through actually the process that I'm going to go through to change mine, so that if anyone is really interested in that, then you can watch that. But look, if you're happy with your domain names and business name, then you don't have to worry about it. But like I said, if you decide to change it, you're going to need to get a web developer or your hosting company. And what they want to do is they want to make the new domain that you choose needs to be the primary domain on your current site. And then you still need to make sure that all the old URLs are 301 redirected to the new URLs. If you don't do this and you've actually got traffic going to your site, then you could do worse in the rankings. So this is just something to think about. So that's why, look, if you're starting out, then use this information. If you've already got stuff that's established, then like I've shown you, there's ways around it. But if you do want to change it, then make sure you get like, a web developer involved in it. And look, if you're really not sure about it all, then just put some questions in the YouTube video comments, or come to the Q&A and ask me about it. Okay, so the key thing is that you want to put the appropriate keywords in the domain name to make it easier for people and Google to understand what your business does and where you are. So the second point we're going to go through today is to check if your site is indexed in Google. Like I said, if your site is not indexed in Google, then that can be a huge problem from the start. If it's a brand new website, then it might not be indexed in Google. And if that's the case, then I suggest that you go to Twitter and put a tweet out there about it. That seems to be one of the fastest ways. Or you could go back to your web developer and ask them to set up something called Google Search Console. I'm going to go through that later on in the training. But yeah, if you find your website's not indexed. So how do we do it then? So I've shown you an example here. You want to go into Google and you want to put in the domain name. And then this is saying there's 71 results that come up. So I'm actually going to show you this on the live one rather than the screenshot. Okay, so I've typed that into Google. Now this is super large, so I'm just going to reduce it for a minute so you can see like 100% screen. Okay, so that's what it would normally look like, right? You type into Google a site colon and then a domain name. And this is my brother's website that I'm probably going to try and do like an over-the-shoulder series on. So use all the steps to show you exactly how I do SEO on a website. Now, if we put in something that wasn't actually a real domain name, so smart.com. So if it comes up like this and like nothing comes up, then that's where you've got a problem. And that's when you need to go back to your web developer and find out what's happening and why the site isn't indexed in Google. Or again, if you don't have a web developer, you can just put it in the comments and I can check on your site and see why, if it's being blocked, or maybe it's just too brand new, or what's happening with it. What you ideally want is for it to come up with all these listings, so you know, yes, Google can find my website, and particularly that you want to make sure that your home page is showing up as well. The key thing as well is that it needs to be, like, you can't do it like this. It has to be the lowercase. So if I go back here again, let's just make it nice and big. So if you put in like that with a gap, then it's not going to work. It's showing 68,000 results. I mean, in this case, it does show that, but see, it's only got 2 from this website, and then it's got all kinds of other things. So it's not the right result. There has to be no space there at all. You also can't do it with a capital S. If you do it with a capital S, then again, it's not going to work. You don't have 60,000 pages on the website. It has to be a lowercase SITE colon, and then with no spaces. Okay, so I'm sure you've got that now. And like I said, if it's not indexed in Google, there's no amount of SEO that's actually going to help you. So you need to get that fixed first before anything that you do is going to work. You could still do the other work that we're going to show you, but it won't actually help you to rank right now. If you do the work, it would help you to rank in the future once your website is indexed. So still do the work. But yeah, you need to get someone to fix it. Okay, so the next thing we want to look at is, do you have Google Analytics? So do you have it? Is it on your website? Can you access it? So I'm going to show you what I look for within Google Analytics, so you can see what it's like. And then obviously, once I've done that, if you already know that you've got Google Analytics access and you know that it's on your website, then you could skip the rest of the section, but probably just watch this bit that I'm going to show you in Google Analytics. And then for anyone who doesn't have Google Analytics set up, well, there's a video that you can watch to figure out if you have it and how to get it. So this is one of my personal websites. It's called personalitytypes.xyz. So usually when you come into Google Analytics, it will take you to this screen. So it's the homepage screen of it, and you can see all kinds of data that's there. Because there's a very specific section that I go into to work out what's happening for my clients and if what we're doing is working. So what I do is I go into this bit here that's called the acquisition, and then I go to all traffic channels. Now this one is showing me from the 1st of December 2018 to the 26th of April. So you can see the traffic over time. And then down here it shows you where most of the traffic is coming from. So most of my traffic is organic. I've got some social and some direct traffic. So the organic traffic is what comes from SEO. So what we want to do is click on organic traffic. Then what it'll do, it'll show me some keywords, but you'll see that like 95% of them are not provided, where we can't actually see them, and another percent is not set. So it's pretty useless really what you're getting through there. So I never really look at that. What I want is the landing page, because if I know what pages on my website that the traffic are coming to, then I know that those pages are working. And if I know that the keywords that we optimize that page for are ranking well and that the traffic is going to that page, then I know that everything is working. And we'll go into all of that other stuff in more detail. But for now, I just want to show you what I look at. And so I can see that over all of this time, the most popular page on my website is the INFP books to read. So this website is about the Myers-Briggs 16 different personality types. The INFP is one of the personality types. You can see the second most popular page is the type test. So that's where they go in and work out that's where they can work out what type of personality type that they are. And there's a whole stack of free tests there. So if I go to 250, then I can see these are all the different pages that people are going to. So on this particular website, we actually have loads of different pages, and we can see the ones that are getting the most traffic. Okay, now the other thing is that this is showing it on a daily basis, so I can change it to a monthly basis. So this is where I really started doing SEO. We started adding a whole lot more pages to the website. So you can see that, the traffic increased substantially. Now, and then look what happened in March and now in April. We're only on the 26th of April. And this is the effect of coronavirus. So obviously all the people who've lost their jobs, who are now searching for information about personality types and maybe about, what kind of jobs that could be useful for them, or in this case, obviously wanting to read books about their personality type, or watch videos about fictional characters that are their personality type. That's interesting, but what I wanted to really show you is that this is what I'm looking at, because this gives me a huge amount of data. If I find out that this is the page on my website that is getting the most amount of traffic, then I know that I can go into that page, maybe tweak things, see if I can try and increase the conversions from that page, therefore know that I'm highly likely to be ranking pretty well for all the INFP keywords. I might go down a bit and go, okay, what am I not ranking well for? What am I not getting much traffic for? The shop page on my website is getting hardly any traffic, no traffic. So I might go, oh, well, actually, I want to try and optimize that page more. I want more traffic to my shop page. So what can I do? So there's a wealth of information in there. If you get to this section that shows you which pages on your site people are actually landing on. Okay, so if you're not sure if you have Google Analytics on your website, there's some written instructions here for how to check, and there's also a video that I did like 4 years ago that's still relevant with instructions on how to check if you have got Google Analytics on your website. You can go through that in your own time. And then also there's instructions there on how to access Google Analytics if you don't have access to it. So again, you might want to pause the video on these pages. The link for this will be in the description below, and you can go to that video and just watch how to see if you've got Google Analytics, how to add it to your website. You can use these instructions. You can pause the video again there and go through this set of instructions for how to actually do that. The sooner you can actually get Google Analytics to start tracking your traffic, the better, so that over time you can really see the difference that you're actually making to your results. So far we've covered some critical foundational stuff. So what is SEO? Is it actually right for your business? The kind of results that you would expect. And then we've looked at your business and domain name. Is your website indexed? And do you have Google Analytics? Which are critical in order for us to be able to go forward and actually start on doing some of the SEO. So in part 2, we're going to cover some basic keyword research and also claiming your business profiles. If you found this useful so far, then please do pay it forward to somebody else who might benefit by sharing the link to this video. Otherwise, make sure that you've already signed up for the written instructions, the checklist, and the notifications for the other future videos and our Q&As, and I'll see you over in part 2.